Alright, today's video is going to be a little bit different than what I normally do out in the barn trying to play songs that I'm not good enough to play. Today I'm going to be oiling up the fretboard of this Custom Shop Strat. I've had this guitar for just a little bit over a year, and you can see I've actually played more guitar in the last year probably than I have my whole life. But you can see the oil from my hand pretty much all the way up the neck, but the low strings higher up on the fretboard, you can kind of see that it's not quite as dark as what it is down here because my fingers don't go up to those frets as much. So I'm going to change the strings, oil up this fretboard. I'm using something called Fret Doctor, which I've never used this before. I got this at Sweetwater, and hopefully it's something pretty good. I've used lemon oil before, but I've heard good things about this Fret Doctor oil, so I thought we'd give it a try. And then something else new that I've never had before are coated nickel wound StringJoy strings. I decided to give these a try because it seems like everybody I know is switching to these strings, so I thought I'd see if I could tell a difference. Probably not. I got this guitar in March of last year on a trip to Lexington, Kentucky with my wife. We decided to do the Bourbon Trail tour kind of thing, and we went to Lexington first because I wanted to check out a guitar shop called Willcut Guitars. I knew that they had these true 62 Strats, and it was pretty much everything that I wanted in a Custom Shop Strat. 62 specs, and it didn't have the raw neck. I didn't want a raw neck like you'd see on a lot of custom shops. I didn't want a lot of heavy relicking for the Strat, so I decided to check out what they had, and I played honestly probably 20 different Fiesta Red true 62s they had in stock. One thing that's not 62 spec is the neck. The neck is actually shaped more like a 59 Strat neck, so it's a little bit thinner. But I played the large C, I played the oval C, and then I played the 59 neck, and the 59 neck just felt the best to me. And it had some nice figuring on it, so I thought I'd get this one. And it's been the best guitar I've ever owned, next to my Custom Shop Telecaster. So, am I good enough to play custom shops? Probably not. Have I been playing guitar a long time? Absolutely. So I've been bad for a really long time. But I'm closing in on a milestone birthday, the big 5-0. And I told my wife, and I've kind of told myself, that by the time I'm 50 years old, I wanted 2 high quality guitars that, even though I wouldn't say I'm a good player, they reflected how much I love the instrument. So that's why I decided to get this Custom Shop. So I got this one while we were on that Lexington to Bardstown Bourbon Trail tour. The guys at Willcut were awesome. I picked this one out. They were patient with me while you play pretty much as many as you want. I played in what they call the warehouse. And in the warehouse, you're surrounded by, at the time, probably 800 Fender Custom Shops and hundreds of PRSs and Gibsons and everything else. So it was just walls and walls of boxed up Custom Shop guitars, and it was really fun. And they had a lot of different amps set up there, so you could kind of take your pick on what you wanted to play. I ended up playing a small car amplifier, which I'd never played a car amplifier before, and I really liked it. But I have been a modeling player since 2018, and eventually I have sold all my tube amps. I briefly revisited tube amps last year. I did some trades for some guitars, and I ended up with a PRS MT15, which I used to be a metal guy, so it wasn't completely out of line to get an MT15. And then I had an EVH 212 cab, and it sounded really good, but I just don't play a whole lot of metal anymore. So it didn't make sense to have that. The day after Christmas last year, I went to Sweetwater. I live about 2 hours from Sweetwater, a little less than 2 hours, and I got a killer deal on a used deluxe reverb, and that was about 2 months after getting the PRS. And then, so at that time I had the MT15 and the EVH212. I had a deluxe reverb, and I had initially gone to Sweetwater after Christmas to get a Fender FR12 to use with my Helix. And honestly, I love the FR12. I use the Helix. It's got the amp models and all the effects built in, so I bought that deluxe reverb, and then it just sat in my basement for a few months. So I ended up selling it on Facebook Marketplace and made about $300 in profit versus what I bought it from Sweetwater for. So that was a killer deal. So I've been ampless once again, just using the FR12. About a month and a half ago I picked up another FR12. So I do have 2 of them. And in stereo, I think they sound great. I'd be interested to play the Tonex cab, but honestly, the FR12 sounds so good to me, I can't imagine asking for much more out of a powered cab. I played the Line 6 power cab in the past, and I played, or I actually have a Headrush 108, and I don't really care for it at all. It's too bottom heavy, too much low end. It doesn't sound balanced. It doesn't sound guitar-like, in my opinion. So, not a big fan of it. But it is a killer stage wedge in a small footprint. I think they're actually just rebranded alto speakers, but it sounds really good as a stage monitor. So that's what we use it for out in my barn. Just adding a little bit more oil to areas that I can see, or I didn't really get the oil in before. By the frets here. And obviously when you put oil on a fretboard, at first everything looks dark and magical and great, that sort of thing. But you have to put this stuff on, wipe it in, and then wait 15 minutes. So I'm going to let this sit for 15 minutes. And then we'll go from there. Alright, it's been 15 minutes. We'll buff this out, put on the new strings. And what's funny is there's not really a whole lot to buff out here. The wood soaked up pretty much all of that oil. So I can see it's more even. Try to get the glare off there so you can see a little bit better. Nice. Alright. It seems like StringJoy has become a popular brand. What's funny is I first heard about these on a trip to Nashville. We were driving around and we just happened to see their office. So I didn't even know they existed prior to that, and then now it seems like they've become pretty popular among YouTube guitar players and a lot of musicians in Nashville. I can already tell that these feel more like uncoated strings than what elixirs do. So let's see how they sound. does this a little bit differently. This is how I do it. I go 2 tuning pegs higher than the string. And vintage style tuners are my favorite. And then I hook it around the peg and wind it up. Up. And once I get to the D string, I go a little higher than 2 pegs above. That way I can get a little bit more wrap around the post. And then one thing I do for the high strings, I'm going to go 2 above and then about 1.5 above that. And I take the end and I bend it. So it looks like that. That way, when I stick it in there, it will lock in place and it won't slide back out. I'm just gonna wing it here a little bit higher. Again, we're gonna put a little hook on the end there. See if the camera will focus in on that. You can see. just need to stretch these out. And normally when I'm stretching, I'll use my other hand to relieve some tension so it's not going to potentially break at the tuning peg. It's a bigger deal on the lighter strings. All right. All right. I can tell you that these do not feel like elixirs at all. These feel like regular guitar strings. So the coating is an enamel coating. So we'll see how they do, but it definitely doesn't have the slick feel that elixirs do, which I kind of like that feel. So far I'm undecided, and the strings look just a tiny bit dirty, or I don't know, like they're oxidized or something on the wound strings. So we'll see.